What up, outlets?
What up?
Part 2. Prompt Pieces Part 2. Boom. Sequel.
First sequel episode, I think.
Maybe so. No. No.
No.
Character.
That
was a
well,
two-parter.
it was a two-parter, yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, never mind. Second sequel episode.
Yeah.
But first sequel with audience participation.
Yes. What about ML Keller? She was on twice. Was that a sequel?
I don't know if that counts as a sequel or she's just cool.
I mean, she is cool, but... Okay, so...
Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so it is round 2 of the Prompt Pieces Challenge. We've got 4 more stories for you in this episode.
Woohoo! New stories!
New stories!
Yeah.
Yeah. Including mine this round.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fun times.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you again to everybody who participated.
Yes, absolutely.
By posting prompts or writing stories. And thank you all for trusting us to come on our show also. We didn't say that last time, but thank you.
We really appreciate it. We appreciate your confidence and, you know, playing along and listening to us and everything. So thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So kind of similar to our last episode, this is a collaboration with other writers and, you know, we really would like it if you listen to this with your kids, but we can't guarantee that the language in this episode is going to be suitable for them. So maybe take a listen if you're concerned about your little ears in the car or whatnot before putting this out there to them. But if you're not concerned, then just blast the episode out your windows. So, but other than that, I think we're going to get started with our first story.
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So this story is coming to you from Mark Dubovec, former guest, former story reader, former crush of J.A. George.
Yes, and possible clone.
Possible clone. It's true.
I'm older than he is, so he might be a clone of me.
That works, yeah. So here is Mark's story.
Hello, this is Mark Dubovec, and I will be reading my story for the Prompt Pieces Challenge, The Devouring Beast. I awoke to darkness, feeling like the world was pressed against my face. I struggled to tear myself free, but I only twisted further into the mess of black oblivion. I tried to scream but could not find my mouth. My lungs begged for release, and my heart nearly erupted. Finally, I pulled free from my blanket and sat up in bed, relieved I wouldn't miss work because I suffocated in my sleep. The cracked open window brought in a cool, gentle breeze that kissed my bare skin. Air, precious air, I said. It tasted better than the coffee and orange juice waiting in the kitchen. I remained half asleep, my eyes still sensitive to the morning sun pouring in. I spun my feet off the bed and planted them on a pile of hastily discarded clothes on the carpet. Without looking, I reached down, pulled on a wrinkled t-shirt, and followed that by grabbing a pair of jeans. As I struggled to yank them up, the denim cutting into the back of my thighs, I realized something. These aren't my pants, I said, standing up as I slid out of the jeans. I looked around. This wasn't my room. This wasn't my bed. I had never seen this room before. Instead of a tan curtain, a colorful flowery spread hung open at the window. My various movie posters were gone, leaving only blank walls and the occasional photograph of mountains and oceans. The bed was new, soft, and comfortable. The thick maroon comforter didn't resemble my thin, patched brown blanket in the slightest. "What's going on here?" I asked. I was in a room I'd never been in before, with clothes that didn't fit me. Was I going crazy? Was I dead, trapped in some weird purgatory? Or hell? It definitely wasn't heaven. I clasped my face in both hands and rubbed my cheeks and eyes, feeling the warmth sprout over me. When I took my hands away and opened my eyes, I saw her, the strange woman in the window. She looked at me the way a scientist looks at a mouse, as if I was something small and useful. I couldn't tell how old she was. She could have been 30 or 60 or 200 for all I knew. Her red hair was long and dark. It hung past her shoulders and was completely straight. She wore thick, black-rimmed glasses, which enlarged her eyes. I wasn't sure, but her eyes, instead of white, looked acid yellow, the pupils solid purple. The woman smiled when she noticed me looking at her and waved me over. I didn't want to go to her. Something felt off, but my muscles obeyed her and carried me over. She rattled the glass with a long, bony finger, the nail painted bright green, and I opened the window the rest of the way. She leaned through the threshold. "About time you woke up, Mr. Livingston," she said, as if greeting an old friend. "That's not my name," I said. She cocked her head to the side, like a curious puppy. "Oh, really? Then pray, tell me, What is your name? It's... I began, but could not finish. I couldn't remember. I just knew it wasn't Livingston. Like the pants from before, it didn't fit. I don't know. Well, she continued, you seem certain about that. I'll take your word for it, even though you look an awfully lot like Mr. Livingston, and you are in his house. I am? She nodded. Oh, yes. He's lived here ever since he was a little boy. She looked me over, from my bare feet to my shaggy-haired head and unshaven face. Were you ever a little boy, Mr. I'm not Mr. Livingston? Or did you just sprout fully grown from the ground as you are? I stared at her, dumbfounded. I didn't know what to say, unsure whether she was being serious or pulling my leg. Before I could do anything else, she pulled something from deep within her brown outfit and presented it with both hands. I couldn't tell what it was, some strange contraption, flexible and soft in some places, hard and square in others. It looked like an oversized typewriter with an air chute in the middle. Recognize this? She asked. I shook my head. It's my accordion, my favorite musical instrument. I play dozens of instruments, drums, guitar, flute, xylophone, trumpet, triangle, but I prefer the accordion above all else. She played it, and I collapsed to my knees, my hands clamped over my ears. Never have I heard so painfully unholy of sound. I thought for sure my ears were going to bleed. The sound practically attacked me, drilling into my skull and stabbing my brain. Stop it, stop it, stop it, I begged, and the noise ceased. The strange woman looked at me, curiously. You really aren't Mr. Livingston. He enjoyed my playing. What was that god-awful sound, I asked. She rolled her eyes and put the instrument away. Don't worry, my accordion isn't possessed. It always sounds like that. She said that as if it was the most normal thing in the world and I was the crazy person for questioning her. I can't imagine it sounding any worse than that. Don't worry, I get it inspected every 7 months. Only been occupied by a demon twice in the last 5 years. The last one, Beelzebub, was such a pain to get rid of. You mean Beelzebub? Beelzebub. She glared at me as if I was stupid. No, Beelzebub. Beelzebub knows better than to mess around with my accordion. Oh, yeah. Right, I said. In my mind, I wanted to scream. Well, she continued, I best introduce myself. I'm Mary Prophet de la Alderaan, and you are... Oh, silly, I forgot. You can't recall your own name. Well, then, I best give you a moniker. Otherwise, it'll be very awkward to keep calling you, or something like that. Any name you prefer? It's quite the golden opportunity for such a strapping young man like you. Pick any name you want. Any name. Any name. Any time now. Before I could think of a name, she cut me off. Fine. I'll give you one if you aren't in a hurry to give yourself one. Again, she looked me over, licking her lips as she did so and rubbing her chin with 2 fingers. I dub thee... She paused for dramatic effect. Justin Busterton. What do you think? I didn't know what to think. Justin was okay, I suppose, but Busterton. Did anyone have a name like that? Well, she continued, doesn't matter what you think. It's what I'm going to call you, Justin. I shrugged. It was best to go along with her for the time being. I still felt lost and disoriented, and Mary Proudfoot seemed friendly, if kooky. I have news for you, Justin, she said. This is serious business. What is it? You and I are going to save the world. That was not the news I anticipated. What? I asked. Oh, yes, she said. If we don't do something, the world will be destroyed, everyone in it dead, and I will never again know the joys of a good foot scraping. I don't believe it. Well, you should, Justin. When you're as old as me, you'll learn to appreciate the joy of taking off your shoes at the end of the day, combing off the dead skin on the bottom, and then soaking your feet in warm, soothing water. Believe me, it's the only reason I want to save this crummy world. Surely you have a reason you want to save the world, don't you, Justin? Well, I like being alive. Mary snorted. Whatever. I think it's overrated. Being dead is quite the thrill. That's why I've died 3 times, and I'm always annoyed with every resurrection. But hey, it's your reason, not mine. It's good enough you're willing to help me. Sure, I guess. She smiled, and I felt uneasy. She looked like she had more teeth than she should have been able to fit into her mouth, and I couldn't help but wonder what she needed so many teeth for. I know it's a dumb thing to wonder, but I wasn't thinking straight. Then follow me, Justin. I turned toward the door. No, she said. She beckoned. Through the window. We have to do this right. Through the window. I shrugged, no longer questioning what was happening. As I straddled through the frame, I thought of something. Shouldn't I be dressed? I slid out and fell, rolling until I landed at her feet. Something more appropriate for like a battle or... She turned and looked down at me. But you're already dressed for battle, Justin. Stand up and see. I obeyed. I was no longer clad in a t-shirt and boxers. I wore a suit of armor and chainmail vest. My boots were iron and clomped with every step. I felt like I was wearing a washing machine. Whoa, he said. I don't remember putting this on. Of course you don't, Mary said. You're the hero. Heroes don't have time for those silly things. Come along, we will get you a weapon. The suburban neighborhood of single-story houses and on-street parking evaporated. We were in a forest. A light mist coated the ground. In the distance, I heard the baying of wolves and the rumbling of thunder of an unseen storm. Stick close, Justin, Mary said. You get lost, there's no telling what you'll be transformed into. Transformed? Giant skeleton, perhaps? Maybe a nest of spider eggs. Maybe even a dung beetle. Staying in my aura will keep you safe. Your aura? I keep it up to strength with whole grains, regular exercise, and coating my skin in egg yolks. Does that really help? Well, I can't be certain about the exercise, but it helps keep the cardiovascular system strong in case we need to run. Like now, run. Mary dashed ahead without giving me the chance to ask why, so I followed suit, running as fast as I could. It wasn't easy. The armor weighed a ton and clamped tightly on my knees and elbows. Mary yelled something to me, but I couldn't tell what. I struggled to catch up with her. Again, she yelled something indistinct. I pressed on harder, my suit filling up with sweat. She yelled again. This time I noticed she wasn't turning to yell, which explained why it was so hard to hear her. I caught some of the words and waited for her to yell again. She obliged. Don't look back no matter what. Was something chasing us? A twinge in my neck commanded me to turn. It shouldn't have been difficult to catch a quick glance. Don't do it, Mary screamed. She hadn't turned, but somehow she knew I was about to look. We reached a clearing in the woods, a round opening free of trees and brush. In the center, a pedestal jutted out of the ground. From it, the handle of a sword extended toward the sky. I knew it was a sword. I'd never seen one in real life, but I recognized the blue hilt and yellow triangles. It had to have been... Yes, Mary said. It is the master sword the legends speak of. She wrapped herself in a cloak, sweating and breathing hard. She shivered. Don't worry. We're safe in this domain. We're protected. She started toward the pedestal. It's safe to look now. It's gone. What's gone? I looked back the way we came. All I saw were trees. We don't have a name for that dreadful horror. If you had gazed upon it, you would have been frozen with terror, and it would have claimed you, and that would have been no good. I need you. I followed her. The world needs a hero, Justin, she continued. I think it's you. Why me? Because you're the only human left in the world. What? She nodded. Everyone else died or fled the planet while you were sleeping. As you might have guessed, I am not of mortal origin. It was amazing luck I found you when I did. If I hadn't found you, it would have gotten you. The unnameable dreadful horror? No, don't be ridiculous. That only lives in the forest. The devouring beast would have gotten you. Devouring beast? It's a beast that eats all life in its path. Yeah, I said. The name kind of gave that part away. We reached the sword. It glowed in the misty sunlight. I swear I could hear the sound of distant singing as I approached it. It sounded like a faint church choir. The sword beckoned to me. Claim the sword, Justin, Mary said. Take it and slay the devouring beast, and we will save the world. I shrugged. Okay. I clasped the hilt and pulled. Power flowed up the blade and through my arms, through my entire being. It felt almost electric. Every muscle in my body swelled with raw energy. I'd conquer the world with this mighty weapon. I held the sword above my head, posed as the mighty warrior. The sword screamed. I dropped it and backed away. It landed in the dirt, but still screamed, blood curdling and shrill. What the? It seems I was wrong, Mary said behind me. You are not the hero I sought. I don't understand. You are not worthy. Her voice sounded different, deeper, distorted, rumbling, gurgling. If I didn't look, nothing bad will happen, I thought. No look, nothing bad. I twisted around slowly as if pulled by a wire. Mary stood there wrapped and huddled in her cloak. I leaned closer. Mary, I'm sorry? She leapt from her cloak, no longer Mary, transformed into something hideous and hungry. I couldn't move, her claws and fangs inches from my throat. I woke up, again encased in darkness. My head throbbed. I wanted to throw up, but something was shoved in my mouth. I tried to touch my face, but my arms were bound behind my back. I looked around. I was hog-tied and dangling from a hook in the ceiling. The only light in the room came from the fireplace. Some unknown meat roasted in it. Everything else was pitch black. The orange light bathed me in a warm glow. Beyond the reach of the light, in the shadows, was nothing. No room, no Mary, no forest, no devouring beast. This was my world, my universe. Someone held a blade to my throat. If you won't save the world, the person said, we are going to eat you. I tried to scream but couldn't. I was paralyzed, the cold metal against my skin. I heard the sound of something being dragged and look. A basin to collect my blood rested underneath. Now it's time, the voice said. Prepare your throat. I woke up again. I was in my bed, my own bed, the bed I recognized. I looked around. It was my room. I looked at the window. No strange woman beckoning me through to fetch a sword and go on a quest to save the world. I climbed out of bed and pulled on my pants. They fit, and I almost cried with joy. I went to the kitchen and poured myself a glass of orange juice. It tasted sweet and pulpy. I was still drinking it when I heard a knock at the door. I was still holding it when I answered. I dropped it when I opened the door. The glass shattered into a million pieces. It was the last person I wanted to see standing on my front porch. Mary smiled when she saw me. About time you woke up, Justin.
Up next, we have an author we haven't worked with yet.
Really excited, though.
Yeah. Viola Dawn and her story, The Psychic Hours.
3 a.m., also known as the beginning of the psychic hours, those last few hours before dawn. Forget the witching hour of midnight. The psychic hours are the ones I'd rather be sleeping through. I fell asleep to the soft tapping of an ASMR video. I dig the deep spiritualist stuff. Anything with tapping, freaky, reeky magic type videos that are supposed to open up one's ability to lucid dream. I can't exactly prescribe ASMR to my clients, despite being a sleep therapist. But for my own issues, I love it. It's my full intention to be fresh as a daisy tomorrow. I've got plans with Jimmy. He's really straight-laced, so I'm holding back. I don't want to scare him by diving in for that first kiss. I don't want to make him feel like a sex object. He's a good guy. All the same, it's left me a bit insecure. He seems to like me, but how much exactly? So I do what any normal person would do when they're insecure. I burn Dragged Blood incense, chant, put my earbuds in, and fall asleep to an ASMR video. Hell, it's better than getting a flower and plucking petals saying, he loves me not, he loves me not. Tap, tap, tap. Yes, tapping on glass always makes me drowsy. So you can imagine my alarm when I open my eyes, earbuds still in, and the woman in black's doppelganger is at my bedroom window. Musty lace and Victorian death culture were not what I was hoping for. And why the hell is the tapping sound in the earbuds? I'm too scared to move, and a cold breeze blows across my exposed feet. I'm looking right at her. A vision of black nails scraping across my feet plays in my mind. It's too chilly, like I'm hollow inside with thin skin, and an ice-cold breeze is blowing right through me. Behind the black lace, she smiles, and her mouth comes apart. She's about to speak. I wince, yank out my earbuds, but when my eyes are open, she isn't there. Just crickets. It's 3 a.m. I'm wide awake, and the thing I do to get myself to relax doesn't seem to be such a good idea right now. Freaking psychic hours. I'm not sure how long I lay there staring at the window, wondering if she's in my house. I fall asleep to the sound of chirping birds. There's a banging sound in the window and I shoot up. It's Jimmy. He looks worried. I turn, disoriented, and hold one finger up at him. Hold on, Jimmy, hold on. I mouth the words. He places his hand on his heart, rolling his eyes like he's so relieved I finally woke up. I open the door, telling him to come in, and he's through before the words leave my dry lips. He's wearing his running gear. I've been calling you for like an hour. We were gonna go for a run, remember? I got worried. Then I knew where your bedroom window is. Tapped on it. You look dead. I mean, white as can be. I could see your phone ringing when tapping didn't work. You were just out cold, so I had to bang on the window. Oh, running. I'd set my alarm for like 5. Crap. Sorry, Jimmy. I haven't been able to sleep very well lately. I keep waking up at 3 and not being able to go back to sleep. Claire, I thought you were dead. Yeah, geez, you'd think I'd have been drinking or something. I even went to sleep in my jogging bottoms. Yeah, Then we both looked down at my attire. I'm in my comfy sports bra and off-the-shoulder sport top, but those are not my pants. I'm wearing a pair of sweatpants that look as though they are straight out of an 80s movie. Not like modern, trendy versions or purposefully stressed or vintage 80s style bottoms, but old, like they've been buried under some moth-eaten garments for a couple of decades. They're ripped in places, as though by sharp nails. Claire, I need to get out of my house. Can I come to your place? Yeah, come on, he agrees. Jimmy only lives a few houses down. This relationship might not go anywhere, but I don't want him to think I'm crazy. I'd like to still get along with my neighbors. Right now, though, I'd rather be anywhere other than my house. Jimmy opens the door, his brows furrowed, fumbling with his keys. He finally manages to get his own door open. I'm tired. So much so that I'm tempted to ask if I could lie down. But we've only been out a couple of times, and this would be the first time I've ever been inside his house. Coffee? He asks. Yes, please, I answer. You look like you need perking up. Yeah, wow. Your place is nice. It's tidy and unique. All Jimmy. He's got a collection of German beer steins. I know Jimmy plays the accordion and he's a member of a German-American folk band. I should imagine if I opened his closet, I'd find freshly ironed shirts and lederhosen ready for all the local folk festivals. Not the most every day of hobbies, but he says it keeps him out of trouble. It dawns on me that I haven't, as of yet, taken care of that human need most people have upon waking up. I'm sorry to ask you this, but it's down the hall, first door on the left. It's cool. You can pee at my house. Thanks. I leave Jimmy to start brewing as I walk down his hallway. I notice he has photos of famous accordion players along the wall. I go into his bathroom. It's a horrible shade of olive green, but clean. Even the bathroom rug looks freshly shaken out and aired, and the cream-colored shower curtain doesn't betray a hint of use. It's like I've been transported to a 1960s bachelor pad. Jimmy even has a crew cut. He's so cute. I wash my hands with his no-nonsense soap and check my face in the mirror. I jump back, nearly knocking down Jimmy's perfect shower curtain. My hand is firmly over my mouth and I stayed silent. It was more of an internal scream. It's the lady with the black veil. She's staring at me from the mirror. I can't move. She starts to speak and all I can do is widen my eyes. Her voice is almost sing-song. It has a jarring effect as the mirror's glass vibrates alongside it. Bound to my realm now, dear Claire. I suppose you didn't mean to call me. Call you? Dragon blood incense. It's one of my favorites. I'm Phobator, or Ikilos to some, god of nightmares, at your pleasure as it were. So lucid your dreams and thoughts. Now reality is the land that time forgot. Solve this subconscious riddle with an honest kiss, else safety from harm you'll dearly miss. There's a demonic edge to Phobator's voice, filtered through the lady in black form. What does that mean? I'm no stranger to mythology. Phobator is one of the Onoroi, winged deities, of which Morpheus leads, and they work the world of human dreams. Of course, Phobator is where the word phobia comes from. You get the idea. He's the least fun of the Onoroi. I walk past all Jimmy's accordion pictures and the smell of coffee hits me. Jimmy's still in the kitchen in front of the small television atop the breakfast counter with his accordion in hand. I take a good swig of the coffee. At this point, I wish there was booze in it. He starts playing. It's a lovely tune at first. Then it changes into something different. The music is like a jovial polka, but there's animal noises. Jimmy? Jimmy's face snaps up, but he looks at me as though he forgot I was there. Claire, will you come see me play at the festival? We're doing a set near the Little Germany section. It's going to be a real hoot and holler. Hoot and holler? I swear, sometimes Jimmy is straight out of a 1950s suburb. He starts playing again, and it sounds like a wounded beast groaning along with the chords. Something injured and held against its will. Jimmy closes his eyes, shakes his head in that mad musician style, the type where they look enraptured, but if non-musical people try to mimic it, they look ridiculous. It's endearing and nauseating at the same time. What is that groaning beast noise? The little television appears to be on mute. It couldn't be that. Jimmy? His head snaps up and he looks at me with wide eyes again. What? Why does your accordion sound possessed? He wraps his arms around it like it's his baby and he needs to protect it. My accordion isn't possessed. It always sounds like that. He tilts his head at me. I glance at the television screen. It isn't on mute. There's a crow, cawing and flapping its wings on some nature show, I guess. But the crow is looking at me. Jimmy starts to speak, but his voice is muffled and slow. I'm not sure if he's drunk or I am. My eyes feel dry and heavy, like they've been watering, and all the residue of whatever irritated them still clings to my lids and coats my eyeballs. The crow is still cawing, sounding more distressed. I wearily look to the countertop next to the TV. There's a knife. It's covered in blood. It's like the crow is trying to warn me. I look to Jimmy. He smiles, all friendly and wholesome. He sets his accordion down next to the knife on the counter. Then he turns, blocking my view of the bloody knife. What the... I start to say. Maybe he's been meal prepping? The doorbell rings, and suddenly everything goes silent. Would you please get that? Jimmy says, his back to me. Sure. I'm too tired to question anything. I'm obviously delirious from lack of rest. I'll let Jimmy's guest in and then make my excuses and head home. There's no creepy Greek god of nightmares and drag hanging at my house. I'm not scared. Psst. I say, then cover my mouth as I answer the door. I struggle to adjust to the light, blinking, trying not to appear like I'm on sedatives or half a bottle of vodka. Claire, a voice answered with raised brows. Shit. Oh, sorry, Father. I slap a hand over my mouth and wince. Idiot. It's Father Larson, the first priest I ever gave confession to. I was a really good Catholic back in 2nd grade. So good, I was determined to even show myself to the priest. I didn't do the kneeling behind the curtain thing. I wanted to be punished for my sins. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. This is my first confession. I've done a lot of naughty things in my time, but the worst is how often I've thought about Ryan Giovanni kissing me. I struggle to think about other things. I also devised a torture chamber for my Barbies, and Mother said it wasn't the sort of thing a little girl should be doing. And I put glitter on my dog. He didn't seem to care, and his fur sparkled, but I feel worse about that for some reason. It had all the makings of a brilliant conversation. Sadly, he scowled at me, told me kissing stuff was for grown-ups, and prescribed the appropriate number of Hail Marys. Father Larson clears his throat and says, Claire, haven't seen you at church since Christmas. Yeah, I go with my folks and sister for Christmas and Easter. I'm on a spiritual journey at the moment. Father Larson raises an eyebrow, and I keep talking before he has a chance to question anything. Are you here to see Jimmy? Yes, I'm helping organize the festival, so I wanted to come over and go over some details. Are you helping with the festival too? He might as well have added Jezebel after that. I should really get out of here. I open my mouth to respond, but Jimmy is behind me. Hello, Father Larson. He reaches out and pumps the priest's hand. All business. Elephant Ears and Polka aren't going to organize themselves, I guess. I'll leave you to it. Thanks for playing for me, Jimmy. Sorry we missed our... Claire, you should stay and finish your coffee. Jimmy interrupts me. Yes, stay, Claire. It's good to be involved with the community. The devil makes work for idle thumbs, Father Larson adds. I'd love to, but really, I didn't sleep well last night. I don't know how much help I'll be. The kitchen television is off. For some reason, I missed the crow. I feel like that bird was on my side. Jeez, I'm tired. Where'd that bloody knife go? I take another sip of coffee. My knees find the floor seconds before my head. Everything turns black. Phobator, god of nightmares, summons you to his service. You damn well better turn up because he knows where you live. Or she, or they, or it. It literally doesn't matter. Phobator can make the nightmares go away, or he can make them worse. Damn, what am I supposed to do? Do I get to kiss Jimmy? I'm not sure how long I'm out, but when I wake up I can't move or talk. My head's pounding, and there's something in my mouth. Inaudible grunting escapes the gag, and when my vision comes into focus, it's Jimmy's face I see, and the edge of a knife. Behind him is Father Larson, sitting in a chair against the wall. Jimmy, it would seem, has some sort of torture chamber in his basement. What the even fuck? Shh, Claire, relax. It's just sleep paralysis. That's why you can't move. No, I can't move because you have me bound to a table. Then Father Larson pipes up. Oh, yes, it's science, actually. If we could move while we dream, we'd surely injure ourselves. That's why sleepwalking is so dangerous. He sounds almost childish, not the seasoned priest who took my first confession a couple of decades ago. I am able to turn my head and try to give him a look that says, "Are you serious? Do you seriously think I don't know that? I studied sleep. I live for sleep. I'm a therapist who specializes in helping insomniacs, for goodness sake." I don't think Father Larson takes much notice of my look. Jimmy turns from his knife-pointing duties and addresses the old priest. Are you sure this will work? Yes, I'm sure. You made the sacrifice of a crow and played a tune for him. And you said yourself, Phobator has a liking for her. He's not always a him. Depends what mood she's in. The deity of nightmares is rather flexible as far as identity is concerned. Human, not human, dead, undead, boy, girl, whatever. So, Claire, it's dawned on me that you never asked what I do for work outside of my accordion gigs and the folk festival circuit, Jimmy says. Yeah, he can do the whole German slap dancing thing too. He might have a knife pointed in my direction, but damn, he does rock a pair of lederhosen. Geez, if he was wearing them now and with Father Larson nowhere near, this whole deal could be a hell of a good time. Almost as if Jimmy has caught on to my thoughts, he removes my gag. Okay, Jimmy, why me? Did you only start dating me to use me in some weird ritual? He smiles. Yes and no. Let me explain. I'm a demonologist. You know all the gods and goddesses people used to worship? Well, they're actually demons. I get paid by varying religious organizations to harness them. You're the sleep counselor. On the outside, you're all sleep hygiene, no TV before bed. But really, you do hocus pocus and all that occult stuff. He likes you. I've got a gift. He pauses, waiting for me to express my awe. Suddenly, my kinky lederhosen fantasy isn't as appealing. Well, first of all, congratulations on your gift. Second of all, the ancient Greeks referred to certain demons, but the term means something different to them. Phobator is a deity. He's not a demon in the churchy sense. I've heard enough of this. Father Larson jumps up now. We need to go through with this. Harness Phobator so he'll inflict nightmares upon this witch with all her questionable practices. We need to see if this works. If we could turn this one back to faith, then we can turn anyone. So I'm bait and a guinea pig? I look at Jimmy. Oh, Claire, he was going to be visiting you anyway. Look at this as a much more controlled environment than your bedroom. We can protect you from it. Awesome. And by the way, Jimmy, bad move sacrificing the crow. First of all, animal cruelty is horrible. Second of all, Phobator loves crows and ravens. Killing one will only piss him off. A shadow of doubt crosses Jimmy's face, but he shakes it away. He turns and takes a different knife from a drawer next to Father Larson. It's got the congealed crow blood on it from before. He puts the gag back in my mouth. This is not going to be fun. My arms are bound, elbows down on the table so he has easy access to my veins. I don't look, but it's instant stinging and warm liquid flows down my flesh. I scream against the gag. Accordion music plays in the background, but I hardly hear it. The priest must be playing. It isn't as awesome as Jimmy's playing. This truly feels like a nightmare. I want to wake up. Please, please let me wake up. If anyone can hear me, I'll do anything. Then a cool hand touches my other arm and the pain stops. Father Larson starts shouting, "Demoness! Foul creature! We summon you to put fear in the minds of the godless." Jimmy makes a shushing sound and says, "Shut up, Father. This isn't an exorcism. We want her here and we don't need to use that tone. This is a negotiation, right?" Jimmy seems in his element now. Phobator raises a brow. Her veil is lifted and her black gown is unbuttoned at the chest, rolled at the sleeves, like she's ready to work. If I could compare her to anyone, I would say she's more like Monica Bellucci than a corpse. She looks down at me and one corner of her mouth lifts. She strokes my face and removes the gag. I'm not necessarily scared of her. She's saving me. Then she speaks. "You can't keep me here. I have ways to escape. You'd better give me my crow back. I'll resurrect your pet when you've done our bidding. It takes a..." Jimmy stops and clears his throat. "Yes, I need a virgin to perform the resurrection ritual. Male. Pure of heart. Though your pure of heart status is fading fast. Your intentions were good ones, Jimmy, when you noticed your gift. But you focused on the virginity bit a lot more than the pure of heart bit." Jimmy's a virgin? Wow, that makes so much sense. Jimmy loses it. "I'm not like you. I won't just do that with anyone." Phobator keeps her cool and responds, "Shush, child. There's nothing wrong with you or your preferences. Nothing at all. As there's nothing wrong with mine or hers. His, though." She gestures to Father Larson before continuing. "There might be a few things wrong with his. Now then, a nightmare, you say?" Father Larson's usual ruddy color drains from his face. "Yes," Jimmy says through grit teeth. Father Larson stays silent, wringing his hands and keeping his seat. He wants to speak, but I think this is his first dealing with an actual deity. "You wanted to get to know Claire, see where things went. Then this job came along. Lots of money." As Phobator speaks, she strokes my right arm with her nails. It brings a familiar tingling sensation. "Stop. Just begin," Jimmy says, though his voice wavers. He doesn't want to see me hurt, but he feels by trapping this demon, he's doing a good thing. "Very well. Pick up your knife." Jimmy swallows. His Adam's apple bobs. Reckon he thought this was going to be more of an internal thing, like she'd just screw with my head, rather than him having to get involved. Phobator lowers her face down to mine. Her tongue brushes my lips, and she leans to whisper in my ear. "He's going to take your heart. I could have him cut off your fingers, but let's start with exorcising your demons and getting me out of this trap." Father Larson is above me. His sausage fingers spread out as he carries on with himself. "Lord, we beseech you to bring this child back to your service. Rid her of wicked thoughts that she's always had, her wanton appetites." Father Larson starts listing all the things I've done wrong. Some are not what you'd call bad girl cool. Most are just dumb. "When she took her Ken doll with her to school and told all the children he would turn real for her one day and be her loving husband, and they all laughed." Oh God, this is embarrassing. That thing with Ken was so temporary. Or the time she got locked in the bathroom and ate a multi-pack of candy bars, thinking she'd starve so she might as well go out happy, then threw up and was rescued within 5 minutes of being locked in the bathroom. Or on a school camping trip, so envious was she of Stacy Bolster and Simon Bayless, sleeping in one another's embrace, she dropped her fork and knife near them on purpose. It goes on. My deadly sins. When is Jimmy going to start removing my fingers? The worst is anger. I punched my sister Jenny in the nose, pulled her hair, and screamed in her face when she taped over dark shadows. Dad had to step in, or I might have really hurt her. I've always had a temper, but that was not my finest hour. Jenny's called me Psycho Claire ever since. Also, I'm glad entertainment technology has moved on. Jimmy looks down on me like he's disgusted, and a little turned on. He swallows back that expression. We've got her. She'll stay. My eyes glance at Phobator. The lady in black form shifts to something else. She turns into Jimmy. Neither Jimmy nor Father Larson seem to notice this change. Jimmy's actual voice is in my head. I need help, Claire. I'm in over my head with all this demon wrestling business. Things I used to think were right, I'm not sure about anymore. Things I thought were wrong, I think might be right. I'm a little scared, Claire, but I want you, and I need your help. Phobator is in Jimmy form. Tongue slips into my mouth, and I'm lost. She knows everything about me, like everything, yet still kisses me like I'm okay, despite my violent rages, my perverse imagination, my obsessions, my weaknesses and insecurities. Phobator likes me, wants me. Jimmy likes me. Real Jimmy doesn't cut me again, but I feel his hand on my wounded arm. It doesn't hurt anymore. I feel his eyes on my heart. He wants it. Shit, is he gonna cut it out? This is the weirdest and possibly best make-out session ever. I wholeheartedly surrender to it. Then it's Father Larson who jumps up shouting, "No! We had a deal. We'll do this my way." I'm helpless. I can't move as he picks up a sword and runs it through Jimmy, across into Phobator, who had snapped up at the priest's outburst. Then the most horrible screaming rings out into the air, like someone in total agony. It's the sword. It's screaming in pain. Jimmy and Phobator are fine. Not a scratch. Words echo in my head. Solve this subconscious riddle with an honest kiss, else safety from harm you'll dearly miss. Tap, tap, tap. I wake up. Jimmy's tapping on my window. We smile at one another through the glass, and I rush to the door to let him in.
We have up next another author that we haven't worked with yet.
Equally excited.
Heard this name a lot.
Yes, we've heard this name a lot.
We need to get to know you. Michael Nadeau, Finding Rose, The Session.
Finding Rose by Michael D. Nadeau. Part 1, The Session. Rose McAllister relaxed on her couch and tried to calm her breathing. She was of average height, with long black hair and blue eyes. She looked over at her therapist again and smiled. "You sure these dream sessions are helping me, doctor?" she asked, unsure of what this was really going to do. "Yes, Mrs. McAllister. Just lie back and let me put you under. I assure you that they will get to the root cause of your delusion, that you are possessed. It's the reason I like to do these sessions in your own home," the therapist said. Rose sighed and laid back, trying to control her breathing. Her therapist, Janice Black, was highly recommended and was supposed to be the best in her field. The woman had long blonde hair and deep hazel eyes, which seemed to bore into her soul. Within moments she was drifting into a dreamlike state, hearing the woman's voice as if from a great distance. "Now tell me what you see, Rose." I'm in my house, but I'm dressed funny. These are not my pants," she said, as she looked down at the oddly colored pants she was wearing. They were a light brown and seemed to be skin tight on her. "Focus, Rose. Look around. What else is there?" "There's a strange woman at the window," Rose said, walking closer. "She seems to be pointing to something outside." Is this the spirit you think is possessing you? Can you see what she is pointing to? Are you able to get outside, or are you stuck in the house? Rose closed her eyes, and in the next heartbeat she was outside, staring at a man. I'm outside. She's pointing at a man, she explained as she walked closer. He is pulling at a sword stuck in a tree. Rose watched as the man pulled the sword free, then dropped it as it screamed in pain. Oh my God, he got it out. The sword is screaming. Like it's in pain from being pulled free. Calm down, Rose. It's all in your mind. Nothing in there can hurt you. Focus. What else is there? I can hear someone playing my accordion, Rose said as she closed her eyes and willed herself back into the house. She was getting the hang of this. Can you see who is playing it? What does it sound like? It's my husband. He's playing a warped version of the wedding march, all out of tune. Is the instrument different? Why is it warped? Is it possessed? My accordion isn't possessed. It always sounds like that, she said, smiling at the sight of her husband. Before she could think of anything else, pain shot through her arms, from the wrist to the elbow. My arms, she called out, seeing nothing around her that could be causing the pain. They feel like I've been sliced. Calm down, Rose. Find a chair and sit down. Try to close your eyes and relax. It will be over soon. Rose felt a panic rise in her as she started to weaken. Wake up, she thought to herself, as the darkness started to creep in, absorbing first the walls, then the furniture of her house. Rose got up, trying to ignore the pain in her arms, and ran for the back door. Her arms felt so light, almost numb. She closed her eyes and tried to will herself out of the dream. But nothing happened. Her last thought before the enveloping darkness reached for her was for Harrison. She wouldn't see her beloved husband again, and that was the worst feeling of all. Don't worry, Rose. I won't let her hurt you, a voice said, as if all around her. Then she was engulfed in the blackness of her mind. Part 2. Disturbing News. He sat behind his desk, stacks of papers on either side, working furiously. Harrison McAllister was just a regular guy working a boring job, stressed out to the point of breaking. He had black hair, cropped close to the collar of his cheap suit, and silver-rimmed glasses. He stamped another set of papers, moving them from one stack to the other, and sighed. He was trying to concentrate, but something was off today. A feeling he couldn't put a finger on, or a name to. The phone trilled, breaking his routine, snapping him out of his funk. Harrison speaking, he said, trying not to sound annoyed. Mr. McAllister, this is Detective Harn, Florence PD, the gruff voice said over the phone. The police? Well, what can I do for you, he said, trying to think of what the Colorado police could want with him. We would like to ask you a couple of questions about your wife's therapist. Janice Black? Is there a problem? He asked, the feeling in his stomach getting worse. He had suggested that his wife go to her after she started saying that she was possessed. Not that he didn't trust his wife, but possession? When he started his day, this was something that he could not have anticipated. Great, he thought. More stress. We just want to talk, Mr. McAllister. Can you and maybe your wife come down to the station around 2? Harn asked, sounding frustrated. Yes, sir. My wife has a session until noon, and I can try to leave soon. We might be able to stop by together around 1, he said, looking at the clock. 12:15. See you then, Mr. McAllister. The phone clicked as the man hung up. Harrison sighed, lying his head down on the desk. I just wanted my life to be easy, he thought. He got up and went to his boss's office, knocking lightly on the door and waiting for the voice he dreaded hearing. Come in, Harrison, she called, her husky tone seeming pleasant for once. Harrison opened the door to Rebecca's office, marveling at how she always knew it was him, and sat down. He was nervous every time he had to talk to her. Miss Jones, may I leave a little early today? He asked, trying not to make direct eye contact. If he didn't look her in the eye, then he might not get yelled at. What's the emergency, Harrison? Rebecca asked, leaning forward on her desk. She had short red hair and freckles, along with a smile that would stop a charging train. She might be pretty, but she was also so angry that it just didn't matter. Her voice sent shivers down his spine. To say he was intimidated by her was a severe understatement. Well, the police want me and my wife to come in to ask us a few questions. Something about her therapist. Well, that's fine. You can always finish tomorrow, she said, folding her arms on the desk. You know, Harrison, you may be the smartest guy I have ever met, but you still can't talk to others without looking at your feet. Someday you'll need to grow a spine, and I just hope you live through it. Thank you, Rebecca. I'll finish my work tomorrow, he said, ignoring her last statement. He closed the door behind him, grabbed his things, and walked to the elevator. He pushed a button and the door opened. A smiling man was staring right at him. Marcus Owens was the last person he wanted to see right now. Owens was tall, built, and extremely arrogant, never mind talkative. Harry, where you going? Marcus asked, jabbing his finger into Harrison's sternum. Does Rebecca know you're skipping out? Harrison wasn't in the mood. He slapped Marcus's arms aside and slipped by him into the elevator. Yes, she does, Harrison said, pushing the big man back out so the doors could close. He hit the G button and headed down to the parking garage, feeling the dread increasing. A short drive later, and he pulled into his driveway, and his life changed forever. Part 3. Alive for Now. Rose awoke, bounding gagged, as Janice looked down at her. The woman was holding a knife and humming softly. Rose tried to ask what was going on, forgetting that she was gagged, and then struggled in a panic. She could see that they were in her basement, the washer and dryer standing among the dark atmosphere of the rafters and cement walls. Easy there, Rose. You will only hurt yourself, Janice said, standing up and straightening her clothes. You are a mystery to me, dear Rose. You should be dead. Yet, when I checked you, you still had a pulse. Even with both arms opened up, lying in a pool of blood, you clung to life. Impossible, I assure you. So what is keeping you alive? Her therapist asked, clearly irritated. Rose looked down at her arms. A weak cry escaped her throat as she saw the deep cuts. Janice didn't even bother to bandage her up. Her arms were open like some bizarre science project from wrist to elbow. The skin was severed neatly. She could feel herself wanting to throw up, the gag somewhat suppressing it. Relax, Rose. We will get through this. Harrison will be here soon, the odd voice said, this time more in her head. Ah, Janice said, turning to the stairs behind her. Sounds like your husband is home. I'll just go see if he needs anything. Then I'll be right back, Janice said, malice gleaming in her eyes. Harrison opened the front door to his house with trepidation. Not only was Rose's car still here, but Janice's car as well. He probably wouldn't have thought twice about that if Detective Harn hadn't asked about her therapist. Now, the sight of both cars, well past her scheduled time, just seemed wrong. He pushed open the door slowly, looking for signs of intruders as he scanned the room. Nothing was upturned or knocked over. No struggle, that's a good thing, he thought to himself as he went for the foyer towards the living room. He crept in, seeing no sign of either his wife or Janice. He went through the rest of the house, room by room, and found only a bloody knife. Oh, all right, that's not good, he thought. Not picking it up. He knew that the police would want to get the prints off of it. His wife was missing. Her therapist's car was still here. The police wanted to question him about said therapist, and there was a bloody knife. Think, Harrison, think. Where would you take a victim if you were a psycho, he thought, his right hand held up, shaking as he walked. It was a sign that he was lost in thought, despite the horrible feeling of loss that was creeping up his spine. The basement. Janice opened the basement door without a sound, her footfalls light as she crept into the kitchen. She could hear him coming this way and cursed the fact that she had dropped her favorite knife. She had grabbed another from the kitchen when she had brought Rose downstairs, needing to stash the body since it apparently would not die. I'll take care of that one once the husband is dead. Pretty sure if the head is gone, she will die, she thought, as his footsteps came ever closer. She ducked behind the refrigerator as the kitchen door opened from the dining room, slinking down into the shadows as he passed her. She swiped out, aiming for his Achilles heel to cripple him, but missed, slicing high on his calf instead. She cursed as he spun towards her, screaming in shock as much from pain, and kicked out. He caught her square in the chest, slamming her back against the wall and momentarily knocking the wind out of her. Janice watched him flee down the basement stairs as she struggled for breath, gasping uselessly for 6 long seconds. Then she dragged in a large gulp of breath. Air! Precious air, she said aloud as she crawled to her feet. She stumbled to the stairs, finding the door barred, and pounded on it, her anger twisting her face. "I will kill you both!" she cried, looking around for something to bash the door in. Part 4. Confrontation. Harrison limped down the stairs, knowing that the door would hold for a little bit at least. "Rose!" he called, desperate to find his wife alive. She had to be alive. Please God, she had to. He heard a mumble then, an answering cry muffled in the dark. He hobbled as fast as he could, tripping on the last step of the staircase, and fell in front of her. He crawled back in horror at the sight of her arms. The mangled mess of blood and veins opened up to the world. "Oh, Rose! Hang on, honey, we'll get you to a hospital," he said, unsure of how he was going to do that with the killer waiting for them upstairs. He could hear her bashing the door with something heavy and looked around for something to fight with while taking the gag off of his wife. "Harrison, oh, thank God, but you're hurt." "It's nothing. We have to get you out of here." "Oh, God, look at what she did to you." He couldn't believe what was happening. He touched his wife's face then, a tender touch meant to convey love and trust, yet her eyes rolled backwards and her body went rigid. "Harrison, untie Rose and get her to her feet. I can take care of the rest, but you have to trust me. Trust your wife." The voice that was certainly not his wife said, staring at him. "Who? What?" "I am Katrin. I possessed your wife in order to get my revenge on the one that killed me. I was Janice's first kill, and I have been chasing her for a long time. Rose is the first one that has had the will not to break under my influence," Katrin said, using Rose's body. He just stared dumbly at his wife, at Katrin. She was telling the truth? It was a statement, not a question. I didn't know. Couldn't have known." Katrin Rose smiled as Harrison cut the bonds and helped her up to her feet, just as the loud crash signaled the door giving way. "There isn't a way out of the basement. I sealed the bulkhead from outside before you arrived. Give up now, and I will kill you quickly," Janice said, stalking down the stairs, brandishing the kitchen knife. She dropped a dented fire extinguisher, the canister bouncing fitfully down the stairs ahead of her. Harrison stepped aside as Katrin Rose waved him back, the devastated arms making his wife look like a ghoul from some horror movie. Janice was staring at his wife now and stopped on the last stair as if sensing something was different. "Hello, Janice. I've been looking for you for a long time," Katrin said, shambling a little closer to Janice with Rose's body. "Do you remember me? Your first kill?" "Katrin? It can't be." Rose's eyes went back to normal as she staggered towards the stairs. "She's all yours now, bitch," Rose said, gasping for breath. Janice wailed, fighting something invisible, her knife slashing the air wildly. "No! Get back! You can't!" "No!" she screamed, falling off the last step and landing on her knife, the blade sinking all the way into her heart. Harrison rushed to his wife, grabbing her and cradling in her arms. He was crying now, worried that he wouldn't be able to save her. "Hold on, Rose. I'll call the ambulance," he started to say, as his eyes were drawn down to her ruined arms. They were slowly closing on their own, healing, bit by bit. "How?" "I think it was Katrin. Her way of saying thank you," Rose said, wrapping those same arms around her husband. "I never knew her name until today. Never knew who or what it was. I'm sorry I didn't believe you, love." "How could you?" "Well, I will from now on. No matter what you say, I will always believe you," Harrison said as he carried her up the stairs. Part 5. Loose Ends. Detective Harm shook his head at the two sitting across from him. "So what you're saying is this other woman, this Katrin, possessed you and kept you alive?" he asked, knowing that they would say yes. It was the fourth time he had asked, trying to get them to change their story, even in the slightest bit. "Yes, and I know how crazy it sounds," Rose said, smiling at him. She had one of those apple pie smiles that he adored secretly. "And yes, Detective, we realize that the lack of scars on my wife's arms don't help our story at all," Harrison said, backing up his wife. "Well, I can't put that in a report, but at least forensics backs up the falling on the blade part," he said, sitting back in his chair. He was getting a headache just thinking about what he was going to say to his superiors. "Oh, and since the knife was yours, your prints were inadmissible." "Well, then we're all set here?" Harrison asked, rising to his feet and holding out his arm to his wife. "Yeah. I'll let you know if any cold cases with the name Katrin pop up. That will make for an interesting talk with the detectives over there for sure," he said, standing and shaking their hands, watching them leave. He wouldn't tell them that he already had the file for Katrin Harn on his desk, or that it was the reason he wanted to ask them about Janice in the first place. "Rest in peace, Mother," Detective Harn said as he stamped the file and placed it in the dissolved bin with a sad smile. The end.
This is Samantha the writer, and I am reading my story for the Prompt Pieces Challenge, You Growing Up. Sometimes you grow up with a father who has a brain tumor. She, the tumor, sneaks up on you, staring through the window. You scream, first because you're scared, and then a second time because you're slowly realizing that she's going to come around to the door and invite herself in and take up residence in your home, and she's not going anywhere, ever. That's what inoperable means. It's news you never expect to receive. Not at 60, not at 29, not at 4. How do you explain to a 4-year-old what inoperable brain tumor means? Daddy has something in his head, and it's not going away, and it may make him act a little strange for a while, but everything is going to be okay. That's how you explain it. But even at 4, you realize that things are about to change, and you immediately grow up and you know that you breathed your last precious breath yesterday. Sometimes you grow up because your father has a brain tumor. You choose books, your dad loves reading, and since that is something he can still do, the two of you read together. He lets you read things that you're probably too old for you, and you learn big words and you use them to impress your friends and alienate everyone else because kids are mean. But you read everything, the two of you sitting on the back porch eating up donuts and books. You read about magical musical instruments that can talk, and swords that can talk, and animals that can talk, because sometimes you forget you have a voice. You're especially drawn to stories about people gone missing, siblings, grandparents, moms and dads. You're too young, even grown up now, to understand adult relationships and what they mean, but you notice the way your mom looks at your dad, and you understand that sometimes people can be right in front of you and still be missing. You wonder if you should be sad or not, because isn't this just normal? You, growing up.
All right. There you have it, everybody. The first prompt pieces. Woo to the Who.
Yeah. I think it was pretty successful.
I agree.
I'm pretty happy with
I
that.
agree.
Yeah.
It's the first time.
Yeah.
And we had some good stories, good participation. I'm happy with it.
Yeah. I think we should do it again.
Yeah, I think we should.
I think we should too.
Yeah.
So.
And major thanks to our co-conspirator once again, Stephen M. Netto.
Thank you. Without you, this idea would never have been.
You started in with the "Without You," and it made me think of an old Motley Crue song called "Without You."
Suppose you didn't break into song.
I did not.
It's okay.
My brother was the Motley Crue fan, not me.
All right, I'm sorry.
Anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so that brings us to another end of episode.
Thanks, outlets. Bye.